10 months ago, I lost my cousin to suicide. And he was my roommate, my everything. And for him to just end his life that way, it just didn't make any sense. He was at a baseball game that day. People don't want to talk about it because they think it will go away, or they're in denial. They're afraid of it, they don't understand it. There's no answers. You have no answers when it comes to suicide, so it's easier just to ignore it or forget about it. I believe to be able to fix that, you'd have to talk about it. And I talk about it every chance I get. I bring new people to the Samaritans, help groups whenever I can. And most importantly, I just keep Christian's memory alive. I talk about him every chance I get. I don't think I would be here today without Samaritans in such good shape. I feel like I will be a part of the Samaritans group forever. I think the world without Samaritans would be a very sad place.
We know the statistic, 1 out of 4 teenagers think about taking their own life, but that doesn't happen to people we know. Recently at our school, a student took his own life, and it has affected our whole school, but I'm one of the guidance counselors there, and he was a student on my caseload. As the guidance counselor, a lot of people were coming to me of how should they feel, and they wanted to talk about it, and I just had to be strong that day, but really, I felt a mess inside, and I felt like I was pretending all day that I was okay and I could handle this, but really, it was extremely difficult.
I think it's impossible for someone to carry someone else's pain by themselves, and when I got to the school, I think the guidance department was really carrying the pain of an entire school community after the suicide. And by creating a place where the guidance counselors could let their guard down and just talk about the pain they were feeling and the stress they were feeling, I think I helped them to better support the community that they were responsible for.
She just allowed me to cry and swear and just break down and be human, and realize that I'm not alone. This has allowed so many of our students to come forward with how they're feeling, where they may have felt alone and scared to share their thoughts. Now they realize they're not the only one.
You know, the thing that we don't really think about is who it affects, and it affects people of all ages. It affects people in every area, and it affects people in our schools, in our workplaces, and it's something that, you know, if we keep ignoring or not really addressing outright, it's going to be something that someday impacts every single one of us.
Not every life is happy, and every life is filled with a little unhappiness, some a lot. I have a very good friend I met in graduate school, Dale, really a soulmate. He was more of a philosopher than a poet, and I was more of a poet than a philosopher, but that's sort of where we intersected. At one point, Dale ran down on his luck in lots of different areas. His wife left him. He lost a job and really felt that he was dead ending. So the phone rang one evening, and it was Dale, and he was calling to say goodbye. He was going to kill himself. At the instant Dale told me he was going to kill himself, the word Samaritans came into my head. And for me, up until then, Samaritans had existed as a sign on the Tobin Bridge. But there was no doubt in my mind that's what I would do, is try to get some advice. We talked for at least an hour, maybe 2 hours. And at that point, I felt sort of confident that I could get him off the phone. And I hung up, I called the Samaritans right away. But I was looking for practical advice. What should I do? How should I focus on things? Really, I knew that with Dale, very intelligent, very, very intelligent man, that I couldn't do it's gonna be better tomorrow, you know, she's gonna come back, you're gonna get that job back, you know, I couldn't, that was a waste of time with him. And in the end, I got him to promise to throw away the stuff. Without Samaritans, I'd be one of those people with a hole in their life. That was 15 years ago. He and I have done an awful lot of terrific things since then. They'd all be gone. All those things would be gone.
Just about 3 years ago, just a few days ago, my dad took his own life. And it was really a surprise to me and my family and everyone who knew him. You know, I wish that I had been in a position, or my dad had been in a position where he had known about the Samaritans and the helpline and had been able to call and known to call in his time of need. And unfortunately, he didn't, and I think there's a lot of other folks in the community that don't know about the Samaritans, and we need to do everything we can to get the message out there. One of the reasons that I'm so involved with Samaritans and so passionate about it is that I don't want his death to detract from his life, and I don't want there to be some stigma or some cloud hanging over his life because of the way he died.